pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20, soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abra Melon Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive:
the world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure: murder. From the twisted mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadow Play in Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Presents Sharing in Session, a weekly Yellowjackets discussion. I'm Sean.
And I'm Missy.
And after taking a week off, Yellowjackets returned this past Friday. Episode 6, was it? Or 5?
6.
6.
6.
So we've only got 3 left. This episode's title is Kui, I think, which is
Kui or K, I don't know.
Name of a pretty good band, 2-piece band I know of in LA. I don't really have that much more to say about this episode. I'm pretty fucking salty, I gotta tell you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty salty. So,
see, I think we dodged a bullet, and I mean,
okay.
We'll get there, but
talk about it. Talk about it. What bullet do you think we
okay.
dodged?
I think we dodged the baby bullet. They gave us a taste, but it would I don't know about you, but I mean, even now, granted, I know this is my opinion and not the rest of the world. Babies, pregnancy, birth, all that stuff kind of icks me out. It's my own personal phobia. And like mid episode or toward the end, it feels like for like 10 minutes straight, you're listening to the baby cry while she's trying to get it to eat and all this stuff. I don't want to deal with that for the rest of the season. And think about how that would affect the characters. They were already trying to hide out downstairs or go outside to find a chore or something just to get away from it. Like, I think it would change the mood, the vibe of the story, and add a different layer of oppression that I don't know would work well.
I agree. I mean, there's no way that baby was going to be a character on the show. There was no way.
Right. I mean, it just it had to be a plot device because it wouldn't work.
It would have been hysterical if it was like she gave birth this episode, then next episode they pulled like the 80s sitcom thing and the kid was just like 4, you know, like all adorable. Oh, Brian Bunzel,
well,
you know.
I thought it was a good episode, and I thought it was an important episode. I think they did it a disservice though by having that week off in the middle, because the 5th episode, Two Truths and a Lie, ends. You know, it ends and you're cranked up with this like frenetic, chaotic energy. Then they take a week off, and you're feeling really disconnected, and they try to throw you back into it. I rewatched the previous episode, the 5th episode, before watching the new one Thursday night, just to kind of get back in that place. because I was feeling very disconnected from it.
It seems like it probably worked because it does, like the way Two Truths and a Lie ends, you go right into the next episode. Like obviously she like this shit's happening now. She's gonna give birth. Like there's no doubt about it, right? I I just really don't like when shows. So I did try to rewatch it. I had said to Missy earlier, like I don't think I'm gonna have time. I was running around doing stuff. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna have time to watch the show a second time this week. And normally I would make time, but like I said, I'm pretty salty. And I did, and I just couldn't even. I was reading while it was on, and the thing
Okay.
is,
All right, so why don't you tell us what are you so salty about?
at 27 minutes, it's either 27 or 28 minutes, so it's basically halfway through the episode, is the scene where she blacks out giving birth, and then it fades back and they're like, Shauna, and then they bring the baby in or whatever, right? And I didn't know what it was going to do, but I assumed the baby was going to, okay, it's here, so it's not going to last. It's going to die and they're going to eat it or something. So somebody's going to do something fucked up and it's going to create further schism, whatever. For them to waste, so however many minutes they dealt with her having that baby until they revealed that that actually didn't happen. It was like an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge kind of thing. That's how much of this episode they wasted, because it literally amounts to absolutely nothing in the course of the show. And I just feel like with now 3 episodes left, and you know what, hopefully when we do our episode for the 9th and final of the season in 3 weeks, I'll be like, it all worked out. But as of right now, I feel like they just wasted a huge amount of time doing something that means absolutely nothing. Nothing. There's like nothing in those scenes with the baby. None of it means anything because it's not fucking real. So, and isn't there even like a dream sequence within the dream sequence where she dreams that they're eating the baby? Like, that's
It's not a dream within a dream. It's the dream she's having before she's woken up.
okay. So that's how
That's
the
just
dream
where it
sequence
goes.
ends. Okay. So that's maybe
Right.
that's a little bit better.
And then she wakes up and see, actually, I think they told us a couple things.
Okay, please
First,
make me change my mind.
Okay, first, all right before we go into that, we see. I know last episode we talked about the or maybe it was the one before, the static that sometimes invades. We've seen it with Coach Ben, and that leads into it again today. You get the static. You have Coach Ben. Remember, I don't know if he's remembering or if he's fantasizing about like this date he had with Paul where they're playing charades and everything, and you see the static again, and then his reality starts to shift, and you can hear he's still in the scene with Paul, but you can hear Shauna screaming. And then it transitions into the first time she wakes up, but she which again they're telling us Shauna almost dies because she wakes up in that circle of happy people, which is the same thing when Jackie died and the same thing when Lottie was at the mall turning purple.
Okay.
So it's establishing that these, that reality is blurring and we get these weird, I still feel like that static, now that we're getting it invading the show, don't trust everything the static is telling you. Because those things have not been true. I think every time we've had it.
Yeah, it seems right.
I'd have to dig further back. Then we know Shauna almost died. And then the big one is, all right, in this whole vision that Shauna has, that we find out afterward is false. She's kind of working through, originally she didn't, you know, she didn't want the baby. She was terrified. She tried to give herself an abortion with underwire from a bra in the first season. Um, and then through this whole vision sequence, she kind of comes around and realizes that she does want the baby, and has that whole conversation. I love you. It's you and me. You and me against the world. And she kind of accepts it and wants to love this baby, and then finds out it wasn't true. But then we go back to present day Shauna, who has this amazing dialogue with Detective Sarah Cusa.
Yeah, that
I
was
think
great.
that's
It was a
how you
great
say his
scene.
name. Where she flat out tells us she never wanted to be a mom. She had a kid that she didn't want, and she's not talking about the wilderness baby. She's
Right.
talking about Callie.
Yeah, 100%.
To save a marriage that she got into out of guilt and shame. And she's never really been able to love either of them completely, but she still kind of does. And I think that that's the core of who Shauna is.
Yes, I
and
agree.
Losing that baby started it. But I think for a minute, deep down in her subconscious, she loved it, and then she loses it. And then everything after that, she hasn't been able to get attached to anything ever.
Okay. And that makes me feel.
I don't think it was a waste of 20 minutes. I think they were telling it. They're doing that thing where it's really subtle again.
I didn't think it was that
I
subtle.
think they had. Okay.
I mean, it's just so like that makes me feel better about. Like, I really like the way you distilled that. And I think you're 100% correct. We needed to see that moment where she accepts and loves the baby in order to juxtapose that with her conversation with Sarkusa.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I like the way you brought up the circle of, she almost died, and Jackie had her vision when she did die, and Lottie had her vision when she almost died.
And she was turning purple.
The difference with the Shauna, and this is what bothers me, it's not just one scene. They're literally cutting back and forth to it as if it's the timeline, and it's not the fucking timeline. If it had been 1 7-minute sequence, I would be super okay with it. But they led us to believe that it was by cutting back and forth to the present day, and then showing us this developing timeline, and then saying, "Oh, gotcha." It just that's a kind of thing. Like, I just don't. I feel like it's like a crappy red herring, and I don't feel like it's very good writing, and I don't know. It just bugged me. Now, I'll shut the fuck up about it though. But I would like to segue into something else.
Say what you have to say.
No. Well, I just don't want to belabor the point. But I mean, I still love the show. So
yeah, everything hits differently. I mean,
exactly.
I'm surprised I responded as well to it. I did get a lot more the second viewing. The first viewing, I spent half of it hiding under a blanket because it was really
it pushes your buttons. Yeah,
it pushes my buttons. It creeps me the fuck out, and it shows me way more than I ever want to see.
Horror should do that, though.
Sense8 did the same thing. I know, and I can appreciate that. They did a good job with it, and I did appreciate the right before Shauna wakes up. I mean, after getting through all of this uncomfortable shit that super pushed my buttons, the gore from the fake baby eating scene was kind of awesome.
Yeah, but it was fake.
I mean, I know, but I mean, if they were going to do a baby arc, they could at least let the horror fans have the baby eating scene.
Yeah.
I had to sit through a really creepy birth.
Well, I still think they're going to eat the baby's corpse because they'd be throwing away.
Too.
They'd be throwing away food if they didn't. So
right, and they're dying.
Exactly. I want to talk about, we had a conversation about another thing that I initially thought was like really crappy writing, and I realized it's not. And
Okay,
that's
so let's go there first.
another thing I said to you, and you echoed it back. It drove me bonkers watching it the first time that Tice and Van are on their way to Lottie's compound. They call, Sean is in the police station, right? And they get Jeff on her phone.
Mhm.
And then when Shauna comes out, Jeff tells her, I think you should go, blah, blah, blah. And then Shauna beats Van and Thaisa to Lottie's. And I
Yes,
was like, that
that's
doesn't even make any
but-
fucking sense. It does.
How?
Because Ty had to drive for like half a day to get to where Van was.
Okay.
So it's location. Shauna is just
Oh,
geographically.
because
Yes, it makes sense.
because Ty and Shauna were together.
Yeah,
Ty left to go to where Van was.
yeah. And she drove until the car
Pennsylvania,
ran out
I
of
think.
gas. No, I don't
Right.
think no, it's I think it's upstate. Well, no, maybe it was Pennsylvania. I don't
No,
remember.
she says it.
Okay,
She says it, but I don't remember what it was.
okay. But it is
But it's not New York.
geographically
It's out of state.
okay. So it's geographically distant. So that's why that worked. So because that
Because
really
then
bothered me.
They have to come back, but
Yes,
they're coming back to where Shauna probably wasn't that far from to begin with.
exactly. So
Thank you, because that was driving me crazy.
yeah, and I was like, this show is so well done that I must be. And so I thought about it. I'm like, oh wait, no, of course. The
No,
other
you're right. It makes sense. But
the
and
other
before we sidetrack,
Mhm.
I just want to. I mean, I think probably my favorite 30 seconds of the episode. Shout out to Jeff for sitting in front of a police station, rocking out to fuck the police.
That was pretty great. That was pretty great.
That's like there is no book club level great.
Yeah, I know, right? I gotta say, I have grown to like Jeff quite a bit. I mean, I'm not gonna
I
say
love him.
he's a little bit of a tool, but I mean, his heart's
He's
in
a
the right.
moron, but
His heart's in the right place, though, and like,
It is.
yeah,
he's loyal. He's very loyal to
very,
Shauna.
very.
He- I mean, I kind of worry about him because I mean, I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think she's a good person.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she says, I didn't start out a bad person, but I mean, she was fucking her best friend's boyfriend in high school.
Yeah.
She wasn't a good person. Granted, he was doing it too, but still.
I think, well, they both have their issues, but she definitely seems a little bit more like, I wouldn't be afraid around Jeff.
No.
I would be afraid around Shauna.
Oh yeah.
The other aspect of the thing with the traveling that also still bugs me a little bit, but not as much once I ironed out that thing about the geography.
Geography.
I didn't get the fact, and it seemed like, and it still kind of seems like sloppy writing where it's like she comes out and he's like, you need to just go to them because the longer you stay here, the worse it's going to get. And my reaction to that is like, anybody that's ever watched a cop show on television knows if you're suspected of a crime. I mean, granted, they haven't told her she can't leave town.
Right.
So I guess maybe that's where I'm now my problem with this is deflating a little bit now that I think about that. But like, it seems like the wrong move to leave town.
But Jeff isn't smart.
Right. But she does it.
But she does it. But
I mean, and we know why she did it because they just need them all to be together now at Lottie's compound. So that was the way to get Shauna there. Right. So, I mean, it's fine. I don't know that I love it, but it makes sense. And
I also get the impression that it is bringing them there.
So man, here's the thing about the episode I loved. And I mean, there were I liked the interrogations. There were things that I liked. The thing that I loved was the overhead shot of the compound.
Me too.
And so here's my question to you, Missy. I don't know if I think the sigil design has been there the whole time, or if the show is showing us that now as a visual representation of, because I think we talked about like Lottie being afraid she was going to become this thing. And I still think that that's still where I'm putting my eggs in that basket.
Right.
And I think she might have just became that thing. Like that might have been what that whole dramatic Van sees her, and Van was just going to drop Ty off and leave. She sees her, and there's this like super electric moment.
They're all like being drawn to each other.
But well, definitely. But like, there's Van is like all of a sudden, right? And then Lottie
like
turns,
locked in with her.
Yes, and Lottie turns, and she has this like, she just looks renewed in this way that we haven't seen yet. And so then you get the shot.
Right. And then the camera opens up and you see it pushes everyone else out of the frame with Lottie in the middle and all the trees in the wilderness behind her.
Yeah.
And, and she's coming forward in the way that she's being lit. She looks bright and vibrant, vibrant, bold.
Transcendent.
Empowered.
Yeah.
Transcendent. Well, and I know we've talked about the opening credits, and I hyper focus on the opening credits every time it plays. There are scenes in the credits for season 2 where we see the adult, the adult Yellowjackets, the adult versions, doing a ritual of some kind. We see Lottie and we see Misty for sure, bouncing up and down around the fire. Her face is covered in blood.
Oh, interesting.
We see Lottie cutting her hand. We see like a heart, and we very clearly see Christina reaching Misty, like she's jumping up and down, and you can see her hair like bouncing, and her face is all bloody, and they're like dancing around a fire.
Ooh, okay.
It's in the opening credits.
I've given up on the credits because every time I look at it, I think that wasn't there last week. That was, and I know that it probably was. So I watch them, but I no longer try and like assess what it is because
it changed at the beginning of the season.
Yes, I know that.
It changed at the beginning of the season.
Every episode, I think there's new stuff in it, and there's not. I don't think
there's not. You're just noticing it because you've seen some of this stuff happen now, but some of it you haven't.
Okay.
And this dancing fire scene, we have not seen it.
Well, that definitely, man. I'm really looking forward to the next episode, despite my kind of
me too.
Because I just think that my saltiness is really rooted around the fact that like we took a fucking week off and came back and just like I felt like they wasted half of my that's an exaggeration. It's not even 20 minutes. Like whatever it is, it's just because it's sewn through, because they cut away and cut back to it. It's even more misleading. If it had just been one, like I said, one thing, it would have been fine. But because of that, I was just like, really? So I don't know. I mean, but regardless, I think next week will be like, oh shit, yeah. So
yeah, I'm excited to see where we're going now, because now we're gonna get into the messy stuff.
Yeah, totally. I think
they had to get past the baby stuff, which may lead into it. I mean, because who knows, they may do some kind of ritual or something to give the baby back to the wilderness before they eat it or something like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely love where it's going with the occult aspects of it. And I thought it was really cool, the scene while they are doing the birth, when they start doing the ritual in the background.
That was the other thing
hear
I
the
really
wilderness
liked.
And it hears us.
I really
love
like that. Yeah.
And the way the drum answers them as they're chanting, where it almost sounds like it's answering them back.
Yes. And I love the fact that Ty, who in the previous episode, Shauna had been like, don't buy into her shit. I need you on my side, not her side, right? Ty is sitting there.
Ty was also using it to help them get home and now she's using it here.
She was holding Shauna's hand by her side during childbirth,
Mhm.
and she started echoing their, so that was
Yep.
really, really interesting.
But Nat didn't.
Yeah, Nat did not. No, I mean,
Nat did not. But Ty did, for sure. So I loved that scene and how it juxtaposed everything, all the birth stuff. Very interesting about Misty that she wants to be useful, she wants to be needed, and everybody was looking to her and she lost her shit for a minute.
Yeah, I like that.
And then Akilah steps in and we inserted new characters to be like fodder for the cannibals. Akilah is the most interesting. I like her.
I do too, and I found myself wondering if there might so even though in the present day we only have those 5 or 6 characters, right?
Right. Honestly, anybody that we haven't seen an adult version of can be
alive. Yeah. So
or can die.
But so it's an easy assumption to make that they didn't make it back, but that's not necessarily the case. So I feel like while there will be a certain tragedy if Akilah does buy it,
she could still be alive.
She could. So there, yeah, definitely. So I mean, we'll see. We are now poised at this moment where, like we both just said, the next episode I think is going to take us into what this season is going to like. The same way the last season had to level up, right? It had to change the whole parameter of the show.
Right, Doomcoming changed everything.
And Lottie, like just opening that up, right? So that now we have a new layer, a new level. So now this season's going to do the same thing, and whatever that's going to be is going to be, I think, more supernatural or occult based. And I mean, I think that this is, I'm still working under the assumption this is going to be 3 seasons. I don't think they've announced anything. I know there's a 3rd season.
I know there's a 3rd season coming.
So, but beyond that, I don't know if they've said 3 is the last, or I don't know,
I've heard there is a 3rd season coming. I have not heard anything about, that that's the last or that they're going till 5 or anything like that.
I think it'll end up being, I think 3, and I think maybe that's just me still uber concerned about the fact that it's on Showtime, and Showtime has done some pretty crazy shit with series that they deemed disposable of late. So I just want, I want it done. Like if you got to do, if you can do 4 seasons,
like it's
great.
Doing well.
It is, but you never know. Like what's the criteria that the network can, I mean, so I just want to be sure that it doesn't get like lopped off at the fucking head,
Yeah, not like Sense8. That was just awful.
Well, yeah, I didn't watch it, but that one season, and then I know it
went 2 seasons. The 2nd season ends on a major cliffhanger, and then they just canceled it because it was too expensive. But all of the fans, myself included, were like writing to Netflix, and then they gave us a 2.5-hour movie to wrap everything up.
Oh well, okay. I mean, at least that's okay.
And that movie not only does it wrap everything up, it's total fan service. It gives you almost everything you want.
Yeah,
probably to make up for the fact that they killed it.
Yeah, probably. Wow. I wish somebody would do that for Raised by Wolves, but that's not going to happen. I would even take the fucking. Oh, I don't think there could be fan service to that show because nobody knows what the fuck the show's about.
I've never watched that one. I loved Sense8 though. I have a question for you before I forget to ask. All right, Lottie goes to see her therapist. Do you think? All right, I know you thought that the therapist was from a secret organization or something that's messing with her or whatever. My question is, do you think she's going to see a therapist or is it all in her head? Is the therapist real? Because we've never seen her like go to a therapist's office or see a receptionist or anything. For all we know, Lottie's like at the compound and she thinks she's going to see her shrink and she's having visions in her head. I started thinking of it because I had just recently seen Beau is Not Afraid.
One of on the Horror Vision Facebook discussion group, on one of the weeks when you posted whatever episode that was, the second or third episode where Lottie goes to see the therapist, and we talked about my big idea that, you know, was like, it's a plant, you know, whatever.
Right.
One of the members of the group, Katie, she was actually messaging me about the show, and she's like, I think it's a vision. And I was like, that's ridiculous. It might be in her head now. I gotta say, I'm starting to wonder if that's just, I don't know. I think Lottie's head is a very complex place.
Well, yeah, I mean, she straight up tells us, I'm not worried that I'm ill. I'm worried that I've never been ill.
Yeah, exactly.
She's letting it in. It, like, you know, the forest god, or, you know.
It'd be interesting if now, like, the next episode, or not necessarily the next, but let's just say the next, because working off this assumption that what we saw at the end of this episode was her now transitioned into this, you know, whatever this entity is. If it's no longer, when we now see Lottie, it's no longer Lottie, it's that thing, and then Ty becomes the other. And I'm even starting to wonder, does Van have something else too? Like, so what if, like, all of a sudden the characters are physically the characters, but mentally no longer the same people? That would be very interesting. And it'd be interesting to see how Nat and Shauna would deal with that, because they don't have something they would switch over to. The others, I'm not, you know, we know Ty does. We're pretty sure Lottie does. And now I'm wondering about Van. So that would be a really interesting dynamic. And I think Misty's just nuts. So, you know,
I think Misty's just right. But, well, they may all have, because Natalie was saying, I think we brought it, we brought it back with us, or in us. And think about it, they're all doing, I mean, all right, so we know Van is taking oxycodone, which she could be using to self-medicate, to, you know, to numb it down. Nat and Travis were both drug addicts and alcoholics. So, I mean, they may have also been trying to numb it down. Shauna doesn't, I mean, we don't see her do anything like that, but she might be a bit of an adrenaline junkie.
Well, there's,
to keep it at bay.
I think she is definitely like Van, where Van is a little bit more on her sleeve. Like, and she says at this episode, like, something to the effect of, you know, Ty's like, well, you live in the past, which she clearly does. She runs a VHS store. Right. Everything about her, I forget what t-shirt she's wearing, but everything about her is 90s, right? Which is, I mean, that's not an uncommon thing. Like, you know, we all know people like that. Or like when I was growing up, I knew people whose parents were like stuck in the 50s because that was their childhood. So of course it's, you know, they bring that to who they are today. And they kind of bring that space and that energy from that time in their lives, right? So she's doing it very on her sleeve. But I think Shauna is just, I think, because of everything that happened to her, like she tells Sarkosa, like, you know, I got married, out of shame and guilt, I had this kid I didn't want. So right there, it's like,
to save a marriage I didn't really want either.
Yeah, and so, and then on top of it, all the trauma of having crashed. So basically her life got lopped off at its most, where she was like, I could have done anything. Although, you know, and then like, that's why she's an adrenaline junkie, because it reminds, everybody wants to be reminded of what it feels like to be young, but her more than anybody else, because she feels like, no, like life stopped at that point.
and I've just been like stuck in a routine or whatever.
Right. Shauna doesn't want it's like she's terrified of boring.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, out of all of them, I could see Shauna embracing, like, okay, if somebody's got to do something at some point in the future of the show where they're gonna like, whoever does this is not gonna live. I see Shauna being like, I'm
Mhm.
good. I'm good accepting that, like, no problem.
Right.
Man, they're fantastic characters. They really are.
Well, and I mean, I thought it was cool too that they even call it out because Nat Nat is talking to Misty and she says we're all like this, aren't we? They've all carried it.
Yeah.
Somewhere more on their sleeves than others.
Yeah.
But none of them are okay. They're all fucked up.
Yeah, and they just
and we don't know exactly what's going on with Van. She's not ready to tell us or Ty yet.
Yeah.
But she's obviously not doing so well either.
Yeah.
Because I mean we saw the bills. So I mean her business is not going well.
Well, she even says she pays her bills with her savings. She's like, I got savings.
Right.
Ty's
Yeah,
like, this place isn't paying the bills. She's like, I got savings.
Right.
But then what? Right.
Right. I mean, we know she's either addicted to the painkillers to keep the thing at bay, or she has something.
Yeah.
She could have a health problem or something. So I mean, but none of them are okay. But I mean, Misty is probably the one that's the most the same. But
I know, right?
I mean, she's batshit insane.
Well, she's sociopathic. So while it is,
Okay,
I think it's maybe it's I don't know if that's clinically like a version of being medically insane, but she's not right. She's not right.
She's not okay.
You just said something that I'm going to make a prediction, which, as I always say to the listeners, will probably be wrong. I'm fine with that. But just listening to you say that right now about Van possibly being sick, I have this idea that I wonder if she's looking at Lottie because now she sees what she remembers and she's sick and she's going to like, if she was terminally ill or she had something seriously wrong with her, she would say, you can help me. Because she's seen her help, she believes, right?
So she believed more than anyone.
I'm curious if that's going to get she's going to tell the group, I have whatever, cancer.
I have cancer or whatever.
And then we need to do this ritual with the wilderness in order to heal me. And then you will start to see like Nat and Shauna aren't going to buy it. But then it's like, well, yeah, but we know this works. So I could see that's where we're going, maybe. And then that's going to open it up to some maybe.
Oh, and then that makes everything going on with all right. So the first time they tried to do a ritual while the baby was being born, it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it might.
Or maybe it also technically, maybe it did work because, Shauna lived. Right. So
and Shauna was dying. That vision, if there's anything that vision was supposed to tell us, it's that Shauna was gonna die.
Yeah.
Because also, remember we noticed in the mall scene where Lottie was turning purple?
Mm-hmm.
Shauna was turning blue and she was all dark under her eyes.
Well, and all the blood and everything. She was clearly, that was not, it was not a good birth.
Oh no, and I noticed this watching it again too. All right, me, the one who gets squeamish. I mean, first, a minute in, I had to pause it. All right, so we open and they're watching a health video.
Yes.
About about having a baby. And while the video is playing, it is describing how the umbilical cord and the placenta are attached.
Mm-hmm.
And it's foreshadowing because in Shauna's birth, the placenta comes out before the baby.
Right.
And it's not supposed to.
Right.
I mean, the baby was dead probably for a while before
it was actually birthed.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wondered if that was like what is it, a breech birth where it comes out backwards is always like a
I
high,
think so.
like that's like, if that's happening, I feel like, okay, now like the doctors are going to have to be way more like, okay, this is the dangerous scenario. So I didn't know if that was like the placenta comes out first
I
in
don't.
those instances, but you just knew based on.
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person,
Yeah.
but I did pick up on that the second time around, not the
Okay.
first. And something I found amusing, because you're always calling out Shauna's pragmatism.
Mm-hmm.
Her and Jeff and Callie are talking about having to go to the police station,
Oh, I love
and
this.
she makes a comment about how it honestly would have been better if Callie had had sex with the cop, because then nothing she said would be admissible. That's where her mind goes.
I loved that because it's exactly.
I did too.
Yeah, Jeff is like, Shauna, but it's like, no, of course. And so I love that then Callie took that ball and fucking ran with it and like basically says, who do you think they're gonna believe? Like she just basically she's so her mother's daughter, right?
Yeah,
she's
so much. The
puts it
reason
on the
they fought
table.
so much in season 1 is because
Yep.
they're very, very similar.
Yep. Yeah, that was good. The whole everything at the police station I really liked. And then I feel like the last thing I have to say is the elephant in the room, which I don't think is the elephant in the room, is like I'm pretty sure Walter basically just drove like a half a mile down the road, parked the car, and jumped the fence.
Yeah,
and he's gonna show
be
up.
there. He's
gonna show up in like Psst, Misty, like from the trees or whatever. There's
Right.
no doubt in my mind. So
yeah, he's there because I mean, Misty says, "Oh, he went home." No, he did.
no,
You're not that dumb.
Yeah.
He did not go home. Would you go home? Obviously not. You joined a cult.
Yeah, exactly.
To get inside. Walter, he's there. Yeah, because that was one of my big takeaways when it ended was, wait a minute, where the fuck is Walter? We haven't seen him at all.
It's just it's probably the next episode or something. He'll circle. I mean, it's nice that they like remove him for an episode to bring him back. Again that week, and I want to make it clear to listeners, no, neither you nor I are blaming the show or the writers or whatever for being off a week. That was a show. That's a Showtime decision that I just think was fucking dumb. But whatever.
It was just annoying, but it's fine. It is what it is.
I'm not even entirely sure. Like I assumed at first it was to get an extra billing cycle out of everybody that's going to sign up, which whatever. I mean, it's like really, but but I don't even think that's the case because it's 9 episodes.
So I think it was more to have like a big like half season finale.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't like it, but it's fine.
It's fine. We're back on track now. So
right.
I mean, fucking, onward to the next, onward to episode 7. I can't wait.
Yeah, I do have something that I was thinking of, and when I watched it again this morning, I mean, we don't know I don't know what would bring them to this, but I think that Ty broke up with Van to protect her from her other one.
I agree.
From her other. And I mean, they're both totally still in love with each other.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I mean, even when Van gets pissed off, she never says, that she doesn't love Ty, or what she says is, you're married and there is no us anymore.
Yeah, right. Well, she does make the comment like, Ty's like, I just want to know you haven't given up on love. And she said, well, maybe I have, but don't flatter yourself. But
it wasn't you.
That could just be,
I don't believe that.
Yeah, that could just be a defense mechanism. Now, I gotta say, I mean, we have both professed our love for Lauren Ambrose previously, but I gotta say, she is doing such a great job, as I knew she would. And part of this is because for the rest of the people on the show, the younger actors had to learn, they had to study the already, known actresses, Juliette Lewis, what I mean? They had to like be able to like the young Nat obviously knows Juliette Lewis's mannerisms and her whatever.
but it's the exact opposite with
Lauren Ambrose
and she
had
does a
to-
great job. There's moments where she's
Mhm.
talking where I'm like, she sounds exactly like the actress that plays the
Liv
young Van.
Houston.
Yes, there you go. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Liv Houston. And right, and they had an entire season to develop
Yep.
Van. And Lauren Ambrose had to adapt to the way Liv Houston
Yeah.
plays the character.
She just fucking
And
nails it.
she's fantastic. But I don't think I mean, in that instance, I think she was just deflecting because she deflects things with sarcasm.
Oh,
When
with the
she- when
comment
she
about
says, "Don't
it.
worry,
Yeah.
it wasn't you."
Yeah.
I think it is, but
I could see
You
that.
know.
I kind of do too.
because she's very, I mean, the thing, Van is probably one of my favorites after Nat.
Yeah, I guess she's
And
definitely
again, she's
becoming
another
one
one
of
that she's very straightforward and honest. Which is why I think that is the first time she's actually told us something that wasn't true. Normally she will just avoid it.
Well, she lied to Ty about the drugs, but I mean, whatever. That's
Right.
that's born of
Yeah,
necessity.
I mean, I'm still going with my gut reaction that I think she's sick.
Yeah,
and
I
that
think
would,
she's
and then where you went with it is really interesting because that would be a reason why they wouldn't say no
Exactly.
to doing, when Lottie proposes that they do some kind of ritual. If it was to help one of them, they
Yeah,
would probably
they
go
would do
along
it.
with it rather than, hell no, I'm not getting back involved in this.
Yeah. And I mean, also Shauna is gonna, if she's an adrenaline junkie or she wants anything to make her life interesting, there you go. And Nat is so, like, why wouldn't she at this point? You know, it's like,
right.
I mean,
She's warming up to it. She's so changed by the reaction she's gotten from Lisa.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, because she doesn't, Nat doesn't think she's worth anything. And the fact that somebody can be that forgiving of her for doing something awful.
Yeah.
I mean, she tried to stab her she stabbed her in the face with a fork.
Yeah.
And I think it, it completely blows her mind. And
Yeah.
and that, my other favorite scene in this episode is the interaction between her and Lisa, where Lisa brings her the fish and they have the conversation. And she tells her, stay away from me. I ruin people. I destroy everything. And the only person that I ever loved or that knew me, it's my fault because I made him believe. And she says it a couple times in the episode. She doesn't think she deserves different things. We didn't deserve to survive. I don't deserve your friendship. I don't deserve your forgiveness. And something else that, just something I noticed that I thought was cool. Natalie's wearing a necklace that's held together with a safety pin.
Oh.
Like the safety pin is to hold herself together.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Wow, that's really cool.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I noticed I relate to Nat really, really, really well. So I get where she's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And she's warming up to some of it. When they want to try to do if they try to do a ritual to save Van, I'm not sure where Nat's going to fall on that. But
I mean, ultimately she's going to go along with it because it's to help Van, but I think we'll see.
Yeah, and she continues to be the only one that, she couldn't kill the fish.
Yep.
She's the most like the closest to being a good person of all of
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even though she's a wreck, still.
them. And right before we go, just because you kept calling out Lottie singing or Lottie speaking French, when in the scene where Lottie is singing to the or humming to the baby, it's it's a French song. It's Frere
Oh.
Jacques.
Interesting. I didn't
So
catch
she's
that.
humming. She's humming this French lullaby. So I don't get what is the connection with the French thing. But now this is another nod to it.
Interesting. I missed that 100%.
I only noticed it because I had the subtitles on, so it calls out Frere Jacques, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that is a French. I mean, she's not singing in French; she's humming, but it's a French song.
Right.
And I might not have placed it without the subtitle because I mean I would have recognized it, but I might not have. Oh, I know what that is. You just recognize that it's like a song from the kids sing.
Right, right.
But I feel like it's important that it's French.
Yeah, it's continuing that whatever that thread is. That's another.
So we don't know what the connection is with Lottie and the French, but this is like the third time it's come up.
Maybe the next episode will simply be called The French Connection. And there'll be a very dangerous, irresponsible chase scene in the middle of New York.
There could be with Shauna leading the chase
Yeah.
through upstate New
In
York
the minivan.
in the minivan.
Okay.
That still has the gun in the door.
Yeah, right.
Glove box.
What if they search
Poor
that car?
Jeff.
Oh man.
He's trying so hard
Yeah, he is. He
to
is.
stand behind and protect his wife. And I think part of the reason he told her to go is because he just needs her to go away for
Yeah,
now.
I think you're right. I think
Because
definitely.
he just
Actually,
doesn't know how to.
that
He is
actually
not prepared.
that makes me feel way better about that suggestion. Actually, because yeah, you're right. Like, I think he's just like, oh God, please, I need time.
Well, his head is fucked, and I think he's worried about Kelly, and that's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be further enforced when he finds out what she did.
Yeah.
That now she's, lying to the cops, falsely accusing an officer, and she's all smiles about it.
Yep.
She doesn't think she did anything wrong.
Yeah, she's looking for her mom's approval, and she got it.
Okay, on that note, then let's end it, and then we'll be back next week for episode 7. Until then, for the Horror Vision for the Horror Vision presents Sharing in Session, a weekly Yellowjackets discussion. I'm Sean,
I'm Missy.
and we'll be back next week.